The road wound through the quiet hills, the kind that held more wind than people. Elias walked with his head slightly lowered, the brim of his hat catching the mist. The rain had passed an hour ago, but the air still carried that clean, wet scent of leaves and distant soil. He had been walking for days without direction. The map in his coat pocket had faded at the edges, and the towns he'd marked were only ghosts, now places he might have imagined. He wasn't lost, exactly, just moving. Sometimes that was enough. The world around him was shifting. Winter was breaking apart, its cold bones cracking under the touch of softer air. He could feel spring somewhere nearby, in the looseness of the wind, in the pale shimmer of sunlight on puddles. And yet, when he breathed, there was still frost on the back of his tongue. It was then, in that uncertain hour between cold and warmth, that he saw it. A bridge. It appeared out of the mist, so quietly he thought he'd imagined it. Built of pale wooden planks, smooth and dry despite the rain. It stretched over a narrow stream. The bridge didn't belong to either season. Elias stopped a few steps away. The world around him was still, as if holding its breath. He could hear only the sound of his own heartbeat, slow and steady. When he placed a hand on the rail, it felt cold on one side, warm on the other, like touching two worlds at once. Something in him, a memory he couldn't quite reach, told him this place was not new. He'd seen it before, maybe long ago, maybe in a dream that had followed him for years. Elias took a slow breath and stepped forward. The wood gave no sound beneath his boots. The air shifted. Behind him, he could almost smell snow. Ahead, the faint sweetness of blooming grass. At the center of the bridge, the air thickened, humming with a quiet pulse. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening. It felt like standing between heartbeats, one ending, one beginning. When he opened them again, the mist had grown deeper, and the far end of the bridge was no longer clear. Asterisk, the fog drifted low across the stream, swallowing the far edge of the bridge. Elias hesitated, one boot still half turned toward the shore he'd come from. A small part of him thought to turn back, but the air was different here, filled with a stillness that wasn't empty but waiting. He kept walking. Each step felt lighter than the last, as if gravity itself was softening. The faint scent of snow began to fade, replaced by something gentle, damp soil, young leaves, the memory of rain on petals. When he reached the other end, the fog thinned just enough to reveal a stretch of open land. At first, it looked like spring had only begun to wake. The grass was new and short, scattered with white flowers that glowed faintly under the dim sky. But as Elias walked further, he saw things that didn't fit A tree half blooming on one side, half bare on the other. A single butterfly frozen mid-flight, its wings unmoving in the air. And a patch of ground where snow melted in one corner and refroze in another, as though the seasons here hadn't yet decided who they belonged to. Elias crouched by the stream's edge. The water was clearer than any he'd seen, so clear it almost looked like glass. But beneath it, the reflection was strange. It didn't show his face. It showed something older. A man that looked like him, but dressed in older clothes, standing on the same bridge with the same expression, though his eyes were filled with a sorrow Elias couldn't name. He blinked, and the image was gone. Just ripples, just water. A wind passed through the field, brushing through the new grass, whispering softly in tones that almost formed words. He couldn't understand them, but the sound was comforting, like hearing a language he'd once known as a child. He followed a faint path that led up from the stream, not sure where it went. After a while, he saw something faintly carved into a stone near the foot of a tree. It wasn't a grave, just a marker. The writing was almost gone, but one word remained, scratched faintly into the stone's surface. Home. Elias stood quietly for a long time. The wind passed again, warmer now. The bridge behind him creaked once, a sound like wood remembering footsteps. He turned toward the open field, the fog beginning to clear in front of him. Somewhere beyond the thin trees, faint lights flickered, golden and slow, like lanterns waiting for someone to return. He began to walk toward them. Asterisks, the lights ahead wavered through the mist, soft and steady like the glow of quiet fires. Elias followed the path until it curved downward into a hollow, where the fog loosened and the shape of a village began to appear. It was small, maybe a dozen homes, all made of pale wood and stone. Their roofs dipped low with moss and dew. No smoke came from the chimneys, no footsteps, no voices, only the sound of a slow wind moving between them, carrying that same scent of both thawing ice and new flowers. He paused near the first house. Its door was slightly open, swinging in the wind. Inside, dust hung like mist, glowing in the soft light that seeped through cracks in the walls. There were cups on a table, half filled with dried leaves, as though someone had just stepped away and never returned. Elias ran his fingers along the doorframe. The wood felt warm to the touch. He didn't know why, but that warmth filled him with a kind of quiet ache, as if something inside him recognized this place. He walked further through the narrow lane. There were markings on the stones, strange spirals and gentle lines carved deep, now filled with moss. One wall had the faint outline of a painting, a bridge stretched between two skies, one filled with falling snow, the other blooming trees. And at the edge of the village, a bell hung from a wooden frame. Its rope swayed lightly, though no wind touched it. Elias reached up and gave it a soft pull. The sound that followed was low and deep, not a chime, but a breath. It moved through the air and seemed to travel beyond the hills, across unseen places. Then, silence again. He turned to leave, but saw movement at the far end of the lane. A figure stood near a broken fence, still and quiet. An old woman, wrapped in a shawl the color of fog. Her eyes were closed. But when Elias stepped closer, she spoke, not loudly, but clear enough to carry through the air. "You shouldn't have crossed when the bridge was changing," she said softly. Her voice trembled as if unused for years. Elias stopped, unsure if she was real or a ghost of sound. "The bridge?" he asked. "I was only passing through." She shook her head gently. "No one just passes through," she said. "The bridge remembers who it lets across." The fog began to curl tighter around them, the edges of the village dimming. She turned away before he could speak again, walking slowly between the houses until her figure dissolved into the pale air. Elias stood there for a long while, the echo of her words sinking deep inside him. Behind him, the bell swayed again, once on its own. Asterisk, the bell's tone lingered in the air long after it stopped moving. It wasn't a sound that faded. It settled like a memory deciding where to rest. Elias stayed by the lane until the fog thinned, showing more of the village. He walked slowly, every step light, afraid to break the silence that seemed to belong to this place. The old woman was gone. Only her footprints remained, leading nowhere. They stopped in the middle of the road, as if the earth had swallowed them. He found himself drawn toward a small house near the stream. It had ivy climbing up its walls, and one of the shutters was gently tapping against the window frame. He pushed the door open. The hinges gave a quiet sigh. Inside, it was warm, impossibly warm, as if someone had just left the room a moment ago. A kettle sat on the stove. A chair was pulled out, facing a table covered with faded papers and dried petals. Elias brushed dust from one of the pages. The ink had almost vanished, but a few words were still clear. "When the seasons meet, the bridge opens. One for remembering, one for forgetting." He read the line again, slower this time. The words carried a strange weight, though he couldn't tell why. He turned toward the window. From there, he could see the bridge faintly through the mist, a pale shape against the still water. And suddenly, he remembered something small, almost unimportant. A day long ago, when his father told him stories about places that only appeared in between things, between hours. between breaths, between seasons. Elias hadn't thought of that in years. He smiled faintly, though the memory felt like it didn't belong to him anymore. The kettle on the stove began to rattle, softly at first. He hadn't touched it. A faint sound rose from the stream outside, like voices layered underwater. He stepped to the window, peering through the fog. There was no one there, but in the reflection of the bridge, he saw movement. Shapes, faint as shadows, walking across it. One of them looked almost like him, carrying the same pack, moving with the same tired, careful steps. Elias stumbled back from the window, his heart suddenly unsteady. When he looked again, the reflection was gone, only still water and drifting petals. He sat down slowly, his hands shaking a little. The air in the room felt heavier now, as though the place had begun to breathe with him. He whispered into the silence, almost to himself, "Who remembers me?" The wind moved softly through the open door, carrying the faintest reply, not in words, but in sound. A sigh, a distant echo. The bridge creaked once more, far away, and then everything went quiet again. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He sat by the table in the small house, staring at the papers he'd found. Outside, the fog pressed close to the window, glowing faintly in the moonlight. It looked alive, shifting, breathing, listening. He lit a small lantern, more for comfort than light. The flame flickered once, and for a brief second he thought he saw something move behind the glass, a figure faint as a reflection. When he looked again, it was gone. The stream murmured quietly outside, steady as a heartbeat. Somewhere in that rhythm, he could almost hear footsteps on wood, slow, careful, familiar. He rose and stepped out into the cold. The fog had grown thinner, revealing the bridge again. Its planks gleamed faintly, as if lit from within, and the air around it shimmered, a fragile tension between warmth and frost. Elias walked closer. Every step toward the bridge brought a strange sense of recognition. Like walking into a dream he had once forgotten but still belonged to. When he reached the edge, he stopped. There were marks on the rail, carved initials, small and rough. He traced them with his finger. E plus L. The wood was smooth from years of weather, but the letters were his own handwriting, unmistakable. He stepped back, heart slow but heavy. He didn't remember carving them, didn't remember who the L could be. The air shifted, a low, rising hum. Half the bridge was caught in a gentle snow now, flakes melting as they touched the planks. The other half glowed with the soft green of early spring. He felt the pull again, that silent urge to cross. But something inside warned him, not yet, so he stood there, caught between two breaths, between two worlds. And then, from somewhere behind him, a voice broke the quiet. "You left before the thaw." Elias turned. A woman stood near the edge of the mist, her shape half hidden by drifting fog. She wore a long coat, her hair pale as frost. He couldn't see her face clearly, but her tone carried both ache and familiarity. "I don't know you," he said, though his voice wavered slightly. She tilted her head. "No," she said softly. "You forgot." The wind brushed past them, stirring the fog into rings that curled around her feet. She began to walk away, back toward the field beyond the stream. Elias called after her, but his voice faded into the mist. When he reached the place where she'd been standing, there were no footprints. Only a single flower, frozen perfectly in ice. He bent down and touched it. The ice didn't melt, and from the bridge behind him came that sound again, the quiet, heavy creak of wood. Remembering, morning came without a sunrise. The sky was pale, washed of color, and the mist hung close to the ground as if reluctant to leave. Elias hadn't slept. The image of the woman lingered in his mind. Her voice, the way she spoke, his forgetting as if it were a wound. He held the frozen flower in his hand, wrapped gently in cloth. It hadn't melted, not even near the fire. It gave off a faint cold light, like moonlight trapped in glass. He stepped outside, the ground damp beneath his boots. The air carried the sound of trickling water, of thawing edges, the world changing again. He followed the stream back toward the open fields, hoping to find her. The village was quiet. Some doors that were closed last night now stood ajar. Inside, chairs had shifted, curtains moved, footprints appeared in the dust that weren't his. The place was waking, but not like a living town, more like a memory slowly remembering itself. At the edge of the field, he found a narrow path he hadn't noticed before. It wound through thin trees, their branches heavy with both frost and buds. Every step he took seemed to echo differently, once dull, then clear. As if he were walking through more than one season at once. Halfway down the path, he saw a figure sitting by a fallen tree. The same woman. Her coat was open now, and beneath it hung a silver pendant shaped like a bridge. She didn't look at him as he approached. Elias stopped a few steps away. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. She brushed her hand across the trunk where frost and blossom met. "Once," she said, "I was someone waiting for you to return." Her voice was gentle, but it cut deep. He knelt beside her, though he still couldn't see her face clearly. The fog always moved just enough to blur her features. "I don't remember," he said. "That's because you crossed before the bridge was ready," she whispered. "When you do that, it takes something in return. A name, a memory. sometimes a life. Elias felt the words settle into him like a truth he'd always known, but refused to believe. He looked down at the frozen flower. Her eyes followed it. "You gave me that once," she said, "when you promised to come back before winter ended." He stared at her, searching his mind. Flashes came, a river, laughter. The feel of someone's hand slipping away as snow fell around them, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "Why can't I remember?" he asked. She rose slowly. "Because the bridge isn't finished with you yet." Then she turned, walking back toward the fog where the seasons met, her outline fading into the pale light. Elias stood alone again, the flower still cold in his hand. Behind him, the bridge gave a long, low groan, as if something beneath it had begun to move. And in the stillness that followed, he heard the faintest whisper drift through the fog. "When the bridge remembers, so will you." Asterisk. By the time Elias returned to the village, the light had changed again. Not brighter, just softer, like the world was holding its breath. The fog had thinned to a veil, and the rooftops glimmered faintly with dew. It was quiet, but not empty anymore. He could feel it, the faint rhythm of movement. A chair rocking gently by itself. A door creaking open with no wind. The sound of distant footsteps that stopped when he listened too closely. Elias walked to the same house where he'd spent the night. The papers on the table had shifted. Now, the top one showed a small sketch, rough pencil lines of the bridge, drawn from the same angle he had seen it first. But there was a figure standing on it, facing away from the viewer. And next to the figure, another shape. Someone smaller, holding their hand. He ran a thumb over the drawing, and the pencil smudged faintly as if it were still fresh. He turned the page. More sketches, the same two figures, standing in different places, by the stream, under the trees, beside a fire. No faces drawn, just outlines. But on the final page, one sentence was written in small, steady handwriting. "If he forgets, the bridge will remember for him." Elias sat down slowly, the room thick with silence. He looked toward the window. The bridge shimmered faintly in the distance, the air around it alive with soft motion. Snow melting, leaves unfurling, the turning of seasons all at once. A deep sense of unease settled in his chest. Not fear exactly, something quieter. A pull, a longing. Like something in him wanted to step forward, and something else wanted to run. He left the house and walked toward the bell tower. Its rope swayed lightly again, but this time he didn't touch it. The old woman's words still echoed in him. The bridge remembers who it lets across at the base of the bell frame. He noticed new carvings on the wood. Names, dozens of them, maybe more, most weathered away. But near the bottom, one was still clear. Elias Rowan. His throat tightened. He reached out and traced the letters. They were old, too old. The grooves, deep with age. His own name, carved years before he'd ever set foot here. He backed away slowly. The fog beginning to rise again, curling around the bell and the carvings like smoke. A whisper came through it. Not words this time, just the low hum of something stirring awake. Elias turned toward the bridge. For the first time, he noticed faint light beneath it. Small golden specks drifting like embers underwater. He stood there watching until the wind carried a soft voice across the field. It was hers again, the woman from the fog. But now it sounded closer, just beyond the bridge. Come back to where you left me. The words brushed against his chest like a heartbeat. He started walking. He started walking. The path toward the bridge was slick with thawing frost. Elias walked slowly, each step sinking slightly into the soft earth. The fog was thick again, but different now, alive, curling like breath from a sleeping giant. It carried scents he couldn't place. Damp pine, spring rain, and the faint sweetness of autumn apples. All at once, he stopped halfway across the field. The bridge stood ahead, same place as before, yet somehow closer, as if the land itself had shifted while he slept. It looked unchanged, but the air around it shimmered faintly, like heat rising off a road. And under that shimmer, he could hear it, a low, humming rhythm, like the turning of gears far beneath the earth. He reached the first wooden plank. The sound deepened. The grain beneath his boots seemed to pulse, and the faint golden embers under the bridge flared softly, like fireflies waking dot. When he stepped onto the bridge, the world behind him faded. The fog rose high and dense, swallowing the village whole. Ahead, only light, gentle, slow, flickering like candle flame through mist. Elias walked. The wood creaked softly underfoot. The river below no longer looked like water. It moved too slowly, too thickly, like glass melting, folding over itself. Shapes drifted beneath the surface. Leaves frozen in mid-fall. Tiny feathers, and once, a child's shoe. He tried not to look down again. Halfway across, the air grew colder. He exhaled, and his breath turned silver. But a few steps later, it shifted, now warm, like summer air over fields of wheat. The sky above flickered to one moment gray and still, the next tinted gold, then pale blue, then the faint glow of evening. The bridge was slipping between seasons, between years. Maybe dot at the center of the bridge. He stopped. The voice came again, clearer this time. You came back too late. He turned toward it. There she was, the same woman, only she wasn't fog now. She was real, standing at the far end, barefoot, her hair tangled by wind. Her face wasn't hidden this time. It was kind, sad, familiar. "Who are you?" Elias asked, though he already knew he should remember. The question sounded too small, like a child asking something he'd asked before. She smiled faintly, and the bridge shuddered beneath them. "You promised you wouldn't forget." He felt something twist in his chest. A memory, almost a field of white blossoms, her laugh, his hand brushing her wrist. But it slipped away before he could catch it. The air flickered again, warm, cold, warm. Behind him, the village bells began to ring faintly, one after another. Not in alarm, more like a memory trying to wake up. Elias took a step toward her. The wood creaked, and the bridge began to split down the middle, a fine line of golden light glowing between the planks. The seasons whirled around him, snow melting, rain falling, blossoms bursting open, leaves scattering. Still, she didn't move, just watched him with eyes that looked almost like his own. "If you cross, you'll remember," she said softly, "but you won't come back." The wind caught her voice, carried it through him like a sigh. He looked down at his hand. Faint light glowed beneath the skin, tracing the shape of his veins like tiny rivers. And for the first time, he felt afraid to forget again. So he took another step. Asterisk. The light deepened as Elias stepped closer. The bridge groaned, wood bending beneath him as if it were breathing. Wind circled his legs in slow spirals, tugging gently at his coat, whispering in a dozen half-formed voices. The seasons were turning faster now, snow melting to rain, rain drying to sun, sun fading to cold, all within moments. It made his head ache. It felt like standing inside a heartbeat. The woman didn't move. Only her hair shifted with the changing air, strands floating like smoke. She was watching him with quiet patience, though her eyes carried something heavy. Not anger, not grief. Something older. "Who are you?" he asked again, voice trembling. It sounded different now, softer, as if the bridge itself muffled the sound. He took another step forward. The light at his feet flared. Then, for a brief instant, he saw a field, golden grass bending under summer wind. The same bridge, but new, bright, painted red, and a woman sitting at the center of it, sketching in a worn leather book. He was younger, smiling, standing beside her, holding a small jar filled with petals. They looked like people who hadn't learned what loss feels like. The image flickered, and he was back in the fog. The bridge was dark again, except for the faint gold line running down its spine. He pressed his hand to his temple. That was the woman's voice, cut gently across his thought. "You remember the bridge before it fell?" He stared at her. It fell. Yes, she said. When the seasons broke apart, the wind stilled for just a moment. He realized then that the world around them wasn't changing. It was stuck mid-change. Winter and spring tangled together. Snow falling into flowers. Leaves burning to ash before they could touch the ground. "Why am I here?" he asked. The woman tilted her head. "Because you built it." His breath caught. "I built it. You built it to remember what was lost. And then you left before the work was done." Elias took a step back. The bridge shivered again, light rippling through the planks like veins under skin. "I don't understand," he whispered. "What did I lose?" She smiled, soft and distant. "You promised to return before the last autumn leaf fell, but the seasons turned without you. The bridge forgot your name." The fog thickened. Her outline blurred. For a heartbeat, he saw her face change, younger, laughing, sunlight on her cheeks. He saw her hand reaching for his, just as she had on the day the river froze over. Elias felt something crack open inside him. Not a thought, a memory waking up. The bridge began to glow brighter. The hum grew louder, shaking the air. "Cross it," she said, "and see what you left behind." He hesitated, but the bridge pulled him forward, plank by plank, toward the light at the far end. Behind him, the fog folded in on itself, sealing the world away. Ahead, the glow deepened, gold turning to white, and through it, faint shapes waited. Trees in full bloom, soft rain, a house made of wood, and quiet laughter. He took a breath, then stepped through. Asterisk. The light broke around him like water. It poured across his shoulders, soaking into his skin. And for a heartbeat, he couldn't tell if he was still walking or simply floating forward. When his feet touched ground again, the air was warm. Still, no fog, no sound of wind. The bridge behind him was gone. Only a soft shimmer in the air marked where it had been dot. Elias stood in a wide valley, blanketed with tall, golden grass. The sky above was caught between evening and morning, half blue, half amber, both at once. Mountains curved in the distance, their peaks tipped with silver light, and the river he had crossed now flowed clear and slow beside him. Its surface so still, it looked like glass holding reflections that never rippled. For a long while, he didn't move. He only breathed, tasting something faint and sweet in the air, like pears, or wild honey, or maybe memory. When he finally turned, he saw it. A small wooden house standing near the riverbank, its roof draped with creeping ivy. Smoke drifted lazily from the chimney, curling into the still sky. Beside it stood a tree, tall, old, its leaves showing every season at once. Green, gold, red, white, spring and summer and autumn and winter, all tangled together. He walked toward it slowly. The ground was soft underfoot, the scent of rain and earth heavy in the air. Birdsong echoed faintly, but the birds themselves were nowhere to be seen. When he reached the porch, the door was already open. Warm light spilled out, the kind that feels like home before you know why. He stepped inside. The room was small, lined with wooden shelves and old glass jars. Each jar held something strange, a small snowflake that never melted, a sprig of lavender still in bloom, a single red leaf, a drop of rain hanging mid-air. On the table sat the leather sketchbook he had seen in the vision open, pages blank, and next to it, a cup of tea still steaming. He touched the book gently. The leather felt warm, almost pulsing faintly under his fingers. When he opened it, a faint hum filled the room. Words began to appear, not written, but rising slowly out of the paper like breath fog on glass. To remember what time cannot keep. He turned the page. A drawing formed the bridge in its first days. Then another page, the woman sitting at the edge, sketching him as he worked. Then another, the two of them standing at the center, holding hands while snow began to fall. His throat tightened. The woman's voice came softly from behind him. You kept everything but this. He turned. She stood in the doorway now, looking more alive than before. No longer half made of fog, but real, solid. Her skin warmed by the same light that filled the valley. He wanted to speak, but no words came. The bridge wasn't just wood and stone, she said gently. It was a promise between you, me, and the seasons themselves. Elias stared at her. What happened to you? Her eyes softened. When the bridge broke, I stayed, to keep the memory from fading completely. Someone had to. The air shimmered again, faintly. Outside, the tree rustled, leaves whispering through time. If you rebuild it, she said, the world will remember how to turn again. The seasons will return to their rhythm. But it means, her voice caught, you'll have to forget me again. The words struck him hard. He understood them instantly. The same choice, the same ache he had once fled from. To keep the world alive, he had given up the person who meant most to him. And now, he had found her again, only to face the same truth. The light dimmed, a slow dusk crawling through the window. The river hummed outside, and he knew he couldn't stay here forever. Elias stood by the door long after the last light faded from the valley. The air outside had gone still again, and the reflection of the tree in the quiet river rippled softly, though no wind touched it. Inside, the woman moved silently through the small house, lighting a few candles, setting down tools he somehow recognized. Hammers, brushes, nails darkened by age, wooden pegs smoothed by use. He knew these things. His hands did, even if his mind struggled to keep up. When he picked one up, it felt right. The weight of it, the balance, the way it fit between his fingers, like something waiting for him to return. "You remember how it feels," she said from behind him. "That's all you'll need. I won't forget this time." She smiled softly, though her eyes held no certainty. "You said that before." Outside, the first traces of dawn shimmered faintly across the valley, pale gold washing over the grass, turning the river into liquid light. Elias stepped out into the cool morning. He could see the faint shimmer where the bridge had been, a soft outline in the air, the echo of structure, like the shape of something remembered too clearly to vanish. He set his hand against it. The air trembled under his touch, as if thin glass separated him from something vast. He felt a slow pulse through it, deep, rhythmic, like the world's own heartbeat. He began to work. The valley was quiet, except for the small, steady sounds, the soft thud of wood, the creak of rope, the faint hiss of nails pressing into place. Each motion brought back flashes, a summer long gone, her laughter through rain, the sound of the river freezing, her hand on his. He held on to those memories as he worked, afraid that if he let go for even a moment, they'd fade into mist again. Hours passed, or days. Time here didn't follow rules anymore. The sun hung low in the sky, caught between rising and setting. The air was filled with shifting scents, thawing snow, damp leaves, fresh rain, all blending like the seasons were watching him rebuild what once kept them apart. At times, she came to help. She carried planks that shimmered faintly, as if built from memory instead of wood. She hummed softly, a tune he recognized but couldn't name. It steadied him by the time he reached the halfway point. The bridge was humming again, alive, resonant, glowing faintly beneath his feet. The seasons had started to move around them, slowly finding their rhythm. Snow melted on the distant peaks. Buds opened on the trees. The air breathed again, but with every nail he set, every plank he laid, he felt it, a quiet erosion in his mind. Small things slipping away. The sound of her laugh, the color of her eyes, the name that had once come so easily. He stopped, chest tight. "I can't lose it again," he whispered. His voice barely reached her. She paused, watching him from the far side of the bridge. The light played across her face like the shimmer of water. "You're not losing it," she said softly. You're giving it back. The wind rose then, carrying her words across the river. He closed his eyes, held the hammer against his heart, and kept working. The bridge hummed stronger. The air grew bright, and from far above, snow began to fall, gently, though the ground below was warm with spring. Asterisk. By the time Elias reached the final stretch of the bridge, the valley had changed. The grass no longer swayed between colors. It had settled into something real, green and alive, heavy with morning dew. The air, too, had found balance. No more flashes of frost or bursts of heat, just a calm, even breath, the sound of a world remembering itself. He stood at the edge, shoulders aching, palms raw from work. The river below moved like time itself, slow, deep, silver gray. And though his hands knew what to do, his thoughts had started to fray at the edges. He couldn't remember how many days had passed, or when he last slept. The woman stayed nearby, sitting cross-legged on a plank, watching him. Sometimes she spoke, but often she didn't need to. The silence between them had grown warm again. The same quiet that once wrapped around them in the early mornings of their old life. He drove one last wooden peg into place. The sound echoed through the valley, a deep, hollow tone that rolled like thunder across the hills. And then everything stilled. For a few heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the air shifted. A deep hum, low and full, rose from the river below. The bridge began to glow from within, not bright, but steady, the soft, golden light of dawn breaking through a long night. Every plank shimmered with faint patterns, rings, branches, rivers, faces, all etched by memory, rising and fading like breath on glass. Elias stepped back, breathing hard. The woman rose too, her hair lifted slightly by the wind that now circled them both. "You've done it," she said, voice low, steady. "It's remembering." He looked around. The valley was waking, clouds rolling like slow waves, the scent of wet soil rising. In the distance, he could see the edges of other places, faint outlines, mountains, forests, roads, all returning, as if they'd been waiting for this single breath. But as the light grew, he felt the pull begin. That soft, hollow ache deep inside, the one that meant memory was slipping. He reached for it, trying to hold onto her voice, her face, her warmth. "Don't fight it," she whispered. "I don't want to forget again," he said, shaking his head. His voice cracked. She stepped closer, close enough that he could feel her hand on his chest, light as dust. "You already remember more than before. That's enough." The wind picked up, spiraling around them, tugging at their hair and clothes. The bridge pulsed brighter now, light surging between the planks like a heartbeat too strong for the wood to contain. The river below turned gold, and high above, the clouds began to break apart, scattering into soft trails of white. The seasons had come to watch. He could feel them, cold and warmth, rain and bloom gathered around, invisible but present, their voices woven into the air. It felt like standing inside a prayer. The woman smiled faintly. When it's done, you'll wake where you began, and the world will move again. Elias looked at her, wanting to ask what would happen to her. But before he could speak, her form began to flicker, not fading, transforming. The golden light rose from her skin like dust lifting in sunlight. Her outline blurred, merging with the bridge, the air, the sound of the river. Her final words reached him like a whisper pressed into the wind. "Don't look back this time." Then she was gone. Elias dropped to his knees, the light around him too bright to see through. The bridge shuddered once, then went completely still. When the glow finally dimmed, the air smelled of rain, and he was alone again. Asterisk, when Elias opened his eyes, he was lying in the grass. The first thing he noticed was the sound birdsong, soft and scattered through the trees. It wasn't distant or dreamlike anymore. It was real, the kind of sound that filled empty space without trying. He sat up slowly. The air was cool but gentle. Sunlight slid through the leaves in shifting stripes, and a light breeze carried the scent of pine and damp soil. He was home. The bridge stood a short walk away, just beyond the river. It looked new again, not glowing, not humming, just whole. The wood clean and pale, the ropes tight, the planks dry from the sun. The kind of bridge that could have been there for decades. For a while, he just stared at it. He remembered every part of the building, every sound, every nail, every trembling second before the light had swallowed her. But when he tried to picture her face, his thoughts turned quiet, like someone had gently covered that memory with a thin veil. He could still feel her warmth, her voice, her presence, but her name was gone. The village lay ahead, the same path winding through the hills, the same soft hum of morning life. Roosters calling, water buckets clanking, distant laughter. As he walked, people turned to wave, smiling as though nothing had ever gone wrong. A few nodded politely, their faces peaceful, like those who'd been freed from a long sleep. At the square, the clock tower was ticking again. He hadn't heard it in years. Each tick carried cleanly through the air, sharp and certain. The market stalls were full apples, bread, fresh flowers, and near the well, a group of children played with small paper boats, their laughter echoing like sunlight through leaves. Everything was right, balanced, alive, but under it all, Elias felt a quiet, hollow space inside his chest. Something not missing, but waiting. A single thread of silence that hummed beneath the noise of life. He walked to the river again. The water moved slow, clear as glass, reflecting a sky both blue and gold. At its edge, he saw a small jar resting against the stones, half buried, faintly glowing in the sun. He knelt and brushed away the dirt. Inside the jar was a single petal, pale white, almost translucent, like it had been waiting for him. When he lifted it, it shimmered faintly, catching light like a memory refusing to fade. He smiled without knowing why. Not with joy, not with grief, just quiet recognition, the kind that lives between the two. He placed the jar on a flat stone near the water, then turned toward the bridge. A soft wind rose, rustling the trees, carrying the scent of rain from somewhere far away. And for a brief second, no longer than a heartbeat, he heard her laugh. Low, warm, close enough to feel. Then it was gone. But the world kept breathing, and so did he. Asterisk days slipped quietly through Elias's hands. He woke each morning before the bells, brewed tea, and sat by his window watching the fog rise off the river. The seasons had finally settled, the air crisp, the trees steady in their colors. It was peace, simple and clear, but something beneath it all, hummed. Sometimes, while he worked in his small garden or mended old tools, he'd feel it, a soft flicker at the edge of awareness, like someone passing just out of sight. A sound that didn't belong to the wind, a breath where no one stood. He tried to ignore it at first, but the feeling grew, a presence that wasn't haunting, just waiting. One morning, while walking through the village, he noticed small changes no one else seemed to see. At the baker's stall, a sprig of white blossoms lay beside the loaves. At the well, a small, unfamiliar symbol had been etched into the stone, a circle split by a line, almost like the bridge scene from above. And on his doorstep one evening, a single red leaf rested neatly, though it was too early in the year for autumn. Each time, his chest tightened, not with fear, but with a strange kind of longing, a feeling that whispered, "You know this." That night, he couldn't sleep. He lit a small lamp and sat at his table, the soft glow brushing against the walls. Outside, rain began to fall, gentle, even like the world breathing in rhythm. He opened his journal, though he didn't remember when he'd started keeping one. The pages were full of half-drawn sketches, rivers, trees, pieces of the bridge, and among them, one image repeated again and again, a woman's silhouette, drawn in faint lines that blurred the moor. He tried to trace them. He ran a finger over the page. The ink felt warm, alive. A knock sounded at the door. Soft, 3 times. He froze. No one came by at this hour. when he opened the door. No one was there, only the sound of rain and the faint smell of smoke and honey. But on the ground, just beyond the step, something glowed faintly. It was a pendant, a small glass circle, smooth and clear, with a tiny petal sealed inside. The same kind of petal he had found in the jar. The same pale white that caught light and refused to dim dot. Elias lifted it gently, holding it up to the lamplight. The glow deepened, and for the briefest moment, the reflection in the glass wasn't his own. It was hers, smiling softly, as if she'd never left. He whispered her name before realizing he'd spoken at all. It came out like a sigh, and when he said it, the light in the pendant pulsed once, then steadied. He sat there for a long while. The rain whispering outside, the pendant warm in his hand. Something in him eased, not because the ache had gone, but because he finally understood she hadn't vanished. She had become part of the rhythm, part of the bridge, part of the turning world, and now she was keeping her promise. She was keeping her promise. Morning came pale and weightless. The rain had washed everything clean, and the air carried that soft after-storm quiet, the kind that feels like the world has just exhaled. Elias sat by the window again, the pendant resting in his palm. It no longer glowed, but it was warm, almost faintly alive. He could feel a slow rhythm in it, steady and patient. He slipped it around his neck. The cord brushed his skin with a small electric shiver. Something inside him shifted. Not a voice exactly, more like a pull, gentle but sure, pointing toward the hills, toward the river, toward there. He didn't hesitate this time. He took his coat, stepped out, and started walking. The path had changed. Or maybe he had. The colors felt sharper, as if the air itself was remembering what it used to be. Spring's breath mingled with autumn's hush, frost clinging to the petals of late flowers. The bridge shimmered faintly in the distance, like it was caught between two heartbeats. When he reached the edge of the river, the current was calm, glassy, reflecting every shade of the sky. The planks of the bridge looked newer somehow, though they still creaked with that same weary sound. He stepped onto it. The moment his foot touched the first board, the pendant flared softly. The air thickened, not heavy, but full, as if every sound and color was folding inward. The world tilted. He took another step. The river below wasn't water anymore. It was light, liquid light flowing in slow waves, carrying whispers that rose like distant echoes of laughter and wind. Each step forward carried him through a change, the scent of wet soil, then apple blossoms, then dry grass, then snow. Seasons folded into each other like breathing. Halfway, across. He stopped. She stood there, not ghost, not memory, something in between. Her shape shimmered like air over heat, her hair moving as if the breeze passed from one time to another. The same eyes, calm and knowing. For a long while, neither spoke. They didn't need to. Then she smiled. That same quiet smile that used to mean, "I'm home." And though her voice was soft, he heard it as if it came from every side of him. "You found it." He wanted to speak, but no words came. His throat ached with everything unsaid. She lifted her hand, touching the air between them. A faint ripple spread outward. The bridge hummed beneath their feet, alive. The planks glowed faintly, like they were made of the same light as the river. "Why me?" he finally managed. Her smile deepened, tinged with sadness. "Because you remembered." The light around her began to pulse slowly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He felt warmth spread through him, not heat, but something like belonging. "The bridge doesn't belong to any season," she whispered. "It's what carries them through each other." It needed someone to see it, to keep it open. He realized, suddenly, that the air smelled like every moment of his life at once. The garden soil, the sea wind, the first frost, the smoke from her hair. She stepped closer, her outline trembling with light. "Every season has its keeper," she said, "and now it's yours." He reached for her hand. It met his, and for a second, the world held its breath. Then, everything blurred. The bridge vanished into brightness. The river's song deepened into silence. When the light faded, Elias stood alone, but not empty. The pendant on his chest glowed faintly, steady as a heartbeat. The world around him shimmered through every color of change, each leaf and ripple alive with quiet motion. And somewhere deep in that motion, her laughter lingered, carried through the turning air. Asterisk, the days that followed felt unreal. Time moved, but not in a straight line anymore. Sometimes the mornings came early, a golden mist drifting through the trees when it should have still been dark. Sometimes the nights hung on too long, like the sky couldn't quite let go. Elias noticed it first in the little things. Frost melting into blooming daisies, wind that carried both the chill of winter and the sweetness of summer. And the river had changed most of all. It no longer looked like water. At least, not always. When the sun hit it just right, the surface shimmered like glass dust, turning from silver to amber to deep blue, colors that didn't belong to one season, but all of them together. The villagers began to talk. Someone swore the apples in their orchard had ripened overnight, only to fall as frozen stones by dawn. Someone else said they saw petals blowing across snow. Elias listened quietly. He didn't deny it, but he didn't explain either. He'd begun to understand. The bridge wasn't just between two sides of the river. It was between everything that moves through time. One evening, as the air cooled into violet dusk, he walked back to the river. The bridge looked different now, more alive. It glowed faintly, even in the dark, not bright enough to light the way, just enough to hum at the edge of sight. He could feel it breathing, slow and deep, like the world's quiet pulse. He sat near the first plank and let his hand rest on it. The wood was warm. It throbbed faintly beneath his palm, alive in some old, silent way. He closed his eyes. Images stirred behind them, a swirl of colors, voices, places. The city covered in autumn leaves. Her voice in the rain. The pendant glowing when he first found it. And beneath it all, a deeper sound, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. He realized then that the bridge wasn't built by hands. It was grown like a memory too strong to die. The pendant warmed against his chest. For a moment, the world bent again, soft and strange. And in that thin air between the seasons, he heard her voice, faint but clear. Elias, don't let it close. The air shimmered faintly over the river, forming shapes that flickered like reflections of people. Some looked ancient, some young, faces from different times crossing the same path. It struck him then. He wasn't the only one who had found this place. The bridge had always chosen someone through every era. He was just one in a long line of keepers bound by the same quiet task to keep the seasons flowing. To hold the passage open, the wind shifted. Somewhere far off, bells rang softly. Maybe from the village, maybe from another time. He stood there until the stars appeared, watching the reflections fade one by one. And though the night deepened, he didn't feel alone. The bridge glowed under the starlight, and the river whispered his name, like the world itself had learned to remember him. Asterisk, the night grew quieter, but the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt heavy, like something listening. Elias began waking before dawn, heart beating too fast, unsure why. Sometimes he'd hear footsteps outside, soft and slow, pacing near the river. Each time he went to look, there was nothing there. Only the bridge. Always the bridge. It was changing. He could feel it. The air around it had thickened, humming faintly even when the wind was still. When he touched the planks, his hand tingled, like the current of a faraway storm moving beneath the wood. And his reflection that frightened him most. It didn't look quite right anymore. His face in the river looked younger one moment, older the next. Sometimes not entirely his thought. At first, He thought it was exhaustion, but deep down, he knew the bridge had begun to take something from him, slowly, gently, like the tide wearing down stone. One morning, while the fog still clung low, he found a figure standing on the far edge of the bridge. At first, he thought it was her. The shape, the stillness, all of it. But as the fog shifted, he saw it more clearly. It wasn't her. It wasn't even human. It looked like the outline of a person made from light and dust, flickering between forms, old, young, then nothing at all. It didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood there, facing him as if waiting. Elias felt no fear, only understanding. He stepped forward. The bridge groaned softly under his weight, though it had never done that before. Each step he took, the figure shimmered, colors bleeding through it, gold and green and the pale blue of frozen air. When he reached the middle, he stopped. The figure tilted its head, almost curious, and then it spoke, not with words, but with sound that seemed to echo inside him. "You keep the rhythm," it said, though the voice wasn't a voice. It was hundreds of whispers folded into one. But balance fades. Each bridge needs an end. Elias swallowed. "I don't understand." The figure flickered, rippled, then solidified again. "You do?" it replied. "The bridge grows from memory, but memory feeds on life, on yours." The pendant at his neck pulsed, once soft and sorrowful. He looked around. The trees on the banks were losing color, their leaves turning white, like ash in slow motion. The river no longer moved. Everything had gone still. He understood now. The bridge wasn't just taking from him. It was holding the world in place, keeping it from unraveling, but at a cost. He clenched his fists. "If I stop, what happens?" The figure's shape trembled. Then the bridge fades. Seasons break. The world forgets how to move. "And if I stay?" Its form softened, voice lowering. "Then you become part of it." The wind picked up, pulling his hair across his face. Leaves spun through the air, caught in unseen currents. He looked down at the planks. They were glowing beneath his feet. He closed his eyes. Her voice echoed faintly, somewhere deep inside him. "Don't let it close," he whispered back. "I won't." When he opened his eyes, the figure was gone. Only the bridge remained, glowing softly in every color of the year. But now, he could feel it breathing through him. The seasons pulsed under his skin, and he realized the truth. He wasn't standing on the bridge anymore. He had become part of it. He had become part of it. For days, the village didn't notice anything was wrong. The river still ran. The air still carried the same smells of pine and wet soil. But then, little things began to shift. A child chasing a ball across the meadow said she saw snow falling. even though it was midsummer. A farmer swore the fields bloomed twice in 1 week. The sun itself seemed uncertain, rising too early one morning, too late the next, and at night, strange light rippled over the water, like the northern sky had wandered too far south. People started whispering about the bridge, about Elias. They said he hadn't been seen for weeks, that sometimes, when the moon hung low, his shadow still crossed the planks, moving slow, like he was walking somewhere that wasn't here. Mara, the potter's daughter, was the first to step onto the bridge since he vanished. She was brave, or maybe just foolish. Everyone told her not to, but curiosity had its own pull. Quiet, steady, impossible to shake. The bridge felt different under her feet. The wood wasn't cold or warm. It was alive. A soft pulse ran through it, steady as a heartbeat. And when she looked down, the river didn't show her a reflection. It showed scenes, moments flashing like broken glass. A forest in snow, children running through spring meadows, a man standing in the rain, holding a glowing pendant. She knew that face, Elias. She took another step. The light shifted, soft gold spreading beneath her feet. The bridge no longer led straight across. It curved upward slightly, into a faint mist that shimmered like time itself was bending. Behind her, the village bells began to ring. Their sounds stretched and distant, like echoes from another year. She turned, and for a heartbeat, the village didn't look the same. The roofs were newer, the trees shorter, and on the far side of the river, she saw herself, but older, standing in the same place, watching. She stumbled back, breath caught in her throat. The vision dissolved. The world snapped quietly back to its place. Mara ran home that night, though she couldn't stop glancing back. The bridge glowed faintly behind her, the air around it rippling in slow waves. No one believed her story, not entirely, but no one dared cross after that. Still, they all felt it. The world had changed its rhythm. Days no longer followed the same steady pace. Mornings stretched longer. Nights fell softer. And through it all, the river whispered. Sometimes it sounded like water. Sometimes like words, keep moving. And high above it, if you stood still enough, you could almost see him, Elias, walking slowly along the arch of the bridge, fading in and out of sight, not trapped, not gone, just keeping the seasons alive. Mara couldn't leave it alone. Days passed, but the images haunted her. Elias fading into the bridge, the reflection that wasn't hers, the strange pull in the air. The village pretended to move on. They always did. But she noticed things no one else wanted to admit. The flowers in her mother's garden, some bloomed, some wilted, all at once. A single tree by the well had both green leaves and bare branches. Children would laugh 1 second and cry the next, claiming they'd seen snowflakes fall from a blue summer sky. Time wasn't holding right anymore. One night, not rushing, humming, a deep, low sound that seemed to move through her bones. The light outside her window flickered, faint gold. Like candlelight seen through fog dot, she slipped outside barefoot, clutching a shawl. The air felt thick. The sky was strange, part dusk, part dawn, caught between hours that didn't exist. When she reached the riverbank, she saw it. The bridge had grown. It no longer ended on the other side. Instead, it stretched upward into the mist, its planks curving like a spiral staircase into the sky. Colors shimmered along it: blue, green, amber, red, flowing like the seasons trading hands. And through the mist above, she thought she saw movement. Silhouettes, dozens of them, walking slowly across invisible paths, like echoes of people who'd once stood where she stood now. The pendant Elias had carried, the one the villagers had found days after he vanished, still hung from her neck. It glowed faintly now, reacting to the bridge's pulse. Her breath trembled. "Elias," she whispered, "if you're still there, show me." The pendant warmed in her palm. And then the mist shifted. He appeared, not solid, not ghostly, somewhere in between. His form shimmered like sunlight through water, eyes calm but heavy. "Mara," he said softly, his voice carrying in the still air, "you shouldn't be here." She took a step closer, tears stinging her eyes. "What happened to you?" He looked past her toward the sleeping village. "I stayed too long. The bridge needed balance. It had to choose someone." "Then I'll help you," she said. "We'll find a way to free you." He smiled faintly, sadness flickering across his face. It doesn't want to be undone. It only wants to continue. I hold the seasons together, but it's growing stronger. It's reaching out. She glanced at the twisting light above them. Reaching out where? Elias looked down, and for the first time, she saw it. The water no longer reflected the sky. It reflected other places, ancient forests, forgotten cities, and moments that didn't belong to this time. She saw people walking through endless bridges of light, crossing from one age to another. "It's connecting everything," Elias said quietly. "Past, future, all of it. If it isn't guided, it'll unravel the years." Mara's fingers tightened around the pendant. "Then you're not just part of it." He nodded once. "I am its anchor." The mist around him began to swirl faster. The air filled with fragments of seasons, petals, frost, rain, dust spinning together like the world was breathing in reverse. He looked at her, his voice low. "When the bridge chooses again, it won't stop with me." The light flared, swallowing his figure until only his voice remained. "Mara, it's looking for you." Then he was gone, and the bridge pulsed once, as if in agreement. Asterix, Mara didn't sleep after that night. How could she? The sound of the river filled every corner of her thoughts, that deep, low hum that wasn't just water anymore. It was calling. The pendant at her throat never cooled now. It pulsed softly, steady as a second heartbeat. Each time it did, the air around her shimmered colors, bending in ways her eyes couldn't follow. She saw flashes, tiny slips in time. Children playing where there was once a road. An old woman standing in a field that hadn't grown in years. A storm rolling backward across the sky. The bridge wasn't content staying by the river anymore. It was spreading through mirrors, through shadows, through memory. Everywhere. By the fourth night, the villagers were terrified. The baker claimed he saw his own father standing in the street, though he'd been dead 20 years. Someone else found frozen dew on their window in the middle of summer. The town clock rang 13 times. Mara knew what it meant. The bridge had lost its balance. Without Elias to guide it, it was feeding on everything that had ever been. She stood by the river again, the pendant glowing like trapped starlight. The spiral of the bridge rose into the clouds now, its edges dissolving into shifting light. Each plank was covered in faint, living symbols, not carved, but moving, breathing. And in that light, she heard him again. "Don't fight it," Elias whispered, his voice soft and far away. "It's choosing." Her heart hammered. "I can't let it take me." "If you resist," he said, "it will take the world instead." The river began to tremble. The banks cracked softly, like something underneath was trying to surface. Everywhere she looked, the seasons collided. Frost forming on green grass, blossoms drifting across snow, heat shimmering above ice. The air smelled like everything at once: rain, dust, smoke, and honey. The bridge pulsed once, twice, then the light reached for her. She dropped to her knees. The glow wrapped around her wrists, pulling gently but firmly, as if the bridge itself was asking her to step forward. And though she wanted to fight it, something inside her softened, a strange calm spreading through her chest. Not fear, not surrender, just recognition. She looked up into the light. For a heartbeat, she saw Elias again, not apart from it, but within it. He smiled. "You were always meant to follow." The pendant burst into brilliance, and she felt herself unravel, not dying, not vanishing, but joining. Her body became weightless. The air shimmered, folding her into the current of colors. In that instant, she understood what the bridge truly was. Not a path between places, but a heartbeat connecting all time. A rhythm that never stopped, only changed its keepers as she crossed into the light. The world steadied. The sky cleared. The river calmed. Seasons found their balance again. By morning, the villagers found the bridge quiet and still. Its spiral gone. It looked ordinary, wooden, weathered, peaceful. No one dared step onto it, but sometimes, at dusk, if you stood by the bank and listened closely, you could hear two voices, faint and warm, whispering through the wind. And when the light caught the water just right, you might see them walking together in the glow, the keepers of the bridge between seasons, of the bridge between seasons. The river still runs quietly. It always has. The villagers don't speak of the bridge much anymore, not out of fear, but respect, the kind that grows from mystery you've stopped trying to solve. Children play by the banks, skipping stones and laughing at the echoes. Sometimes the stones skip too far, vanishing in the middle of the water without a sound. The children say it means the bridge liked the throw. When night comes, the sky deepens into that soft blue between dreams. The river reflects it like glass, steady and sure. And though no one has crossed in years, it never decays. The wood stays smooth, the ropes firm, as if time has decided to leave it alone. Mara's cottage still stands, though empty now. The villagers keep flowers near the door. No one remembers when that started. It just feels right, and sometimes, only sometimes, when the world feels too still, a gentle glow rises from the water. It's faint, more felt than seen, a slow pulse of color that moves like breath. Blue melting to gold, gold to green, green to white, a quiet rhythm that seems to calm the wind, to hush the night. Those who stay long enough to watch swear they hear voices, not words exactly, more like the sound of someone speaking through water. Soft, patient, familiar. Two voices blending together, moving in time with a current. Some say it's Elias and Mara, walking the path that never ends. Others say it's just the bridge remembering them. But maybe it's neither. Maybe it's what happens when love becomes part of the rhythm, when two souls choose to stay. Not in the world, not beyond it, but right where all things meet, between spring and winter, between dusk and dawn, between moments, the bridge glows once more, faint as a sigh. The river whispers, and the night drifts on, steady and kind. Sleep finds those who listen, because somewhere across that quiet bridge of seasons, the keepers still walk, and the world keeps breathing in time with their steps.